Hello, my sweet little noodles. My name is Brittany and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'll be reading, dare I say, the hottest book of the year, Fourth Wing.
It's Brittany, bitch.
Hey y'all, Editing Brittany here. This vlog is entirely full of spoilers, so if you do not want to be spoiled, please click off of this video right now. I delve into pretty much every aspect of the plot, as well as going into like flaws, issues, things I loved, etc. But there is no like separate spoiler section, so if you do watch this video, you're gonna get spoiled for something. Now, if you're like me and you like being spoiled, this shouldn't be a problem because honestly, for the amount of people I've heard talking about this book, I knew nothing about this. All I knew was a book about dragons and sex. So if you don't want to get spoiled, click off right now. Pretty much every single booktuber I watch has read this book, and I am pretty much the last man out, and I need to rectify that. This is a very chunky fantasy novel about dragons. Now, I don't know why I was under the impression this was a YA novel, but it definitely looks like that. And if you want to argue with me, go ahead. But this straight up looks like a cover from like the 2010s dystopian fantasy era.
I said what I said.
But that's definitely what this reminds me of. And I think that's also why, for some reason, I kept thinking this was YA, but it is not. And our main character, Violet, is basically going off to go to like writing school, even though she was raised her entire life going to go to like the scribe school or like, I guess it's like scribe college. I have no idea. There are certain gauntlets, and she was originally going to be a scribe. And now she's going to be a writer, just like her mom, who is the general of like this whole thing. So Violet is now entered into a very deadly way of life as a dragon rider, but she obviously has to like get into the classes and all that stuff first. I haven't really heard many people talk about the actual plot of this novel, other than the fact that it's a very fast-paced fantasy about dragons, some sex. The dragons talk apparently, by the way, and she's going to like dragon riding school, and it's very deadly. You can basically get killed in multiple different ways. People die on every page. That's all I've heard. I'm currently only 3 chapters into this, and in the first chapter, someone has already died. So I will say that it's a little deathy, and I do enjoy that in a book, and I think that's one of people's complaints I've heard is that there's just so many people to remember, but half them die anyway, so don't worry about it. I'm open to that. It's fine. It's definitely reading pretty quickly, I feel like, for how large the pages are and how long the chapters are. Like the first chapter was like over 20 pages, which is like usually not my preferred chapter length. I definitely prefer shorter chapters, but I will make an exception. I definitely have to make time for this. It is now Friday, and I'm hoping to at least get to the halfway point by this Sunday, because on Sundays I like to go and read at a local coffee shop. And if I'm really focused, I can get a lot of reading done, but it just kind of depends on the weekend. Sometimes I'm just so burnt out. It's just really hard to like put my eyes on a page and like focus. I much prefer to like watch a TV show, so it just kind of depends. But I will update you when something of note happens. But so far, we're just following Violet, who has to pass the first, I guess, realm of tests where they have to pass over this 200-foot drop on top of a parapet. That was terrifying. I'm not gonna lie. My heart was fucking racing reading that, because like one of the only fears I really have in life is a fear of falling / heights. I really don't like it. And it's one of those things I kind of forget about until when I like went to Albuquerque and went on the tram, and then we were going up really high and I instantly started like panicking. Totally forgot about that. But reading this book gave me that feeling. Like I felt like I was the one like on this tiny ass parapet, and it's raining and it's windy, and I have to make it across the parapet, and like they prepare for you to die. Like a lot of kids fall off and die, and somebody already dies in the first chapter because they fall off. Literally terrifying of a concept, and it got my blood pumping. I mean, that's for sure. Like I will never probably forget that opening, just because like I was literally so scared. But Violet has a sister, Mira, I think that's her name. She's also been trained as a writer, and her mom is like the general, also a writer. So like they come from a family of writers, and like I don't really understand why all of a sudden her mom decides that like she needs to like be a writer, and like you're not going to take the scribe exam, you're going to be a writer. Like she trained her entire life to be a scribe, and now all of a sudden her mom is going to like make her be a writer. I just feel like that's a little interesting. You know what I mean? I don't really know why that all of a sudden just happened, because like if this was your expectation of your daughter her entire life, I would just like not allow her to like be a scribe. But I guess like her father was a scribe, or he encouraged that, and then he passed. And so like now maybe like her dad's influence isn't there. Maybe now that's why her mom is like, fuck your dad and his traditions. You're just gonna go be a writer because we're writers in this family. I just thought it was like a little bit weird, but like when I really think about it, I mean, it could happen. I mean, without the other parents' influence, I guess she could be like, well, nobody's gonna argue with me. You're gonna do what I say because you're my child. So that's also why I'm saying like, is this YA though? Because like like, if I was over 18, my parents were like, oh, you should do this, I'd be like, you can go fuck yourself. So I'm gonna assume this technically is YA. I don't really know. I need to do more research on that, and I don't remember her age being given yet so far. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I fucking missed it. But I'm gonna do some research and let y'all know. And I'll let you guys know when something else interesting happens. But so far, she's already made quite a few enemies, and she's already made a few friends. So that's all that's really going on. And I guess she's gonna do more of this like dragon training school. And I'm assuming she's gonna get picked by a dragon because these dragons could like pick their riders. So I'm gonna assume that's what's gonna happen. I know that there's a sequel to this, so I'm just gonna assume the best. I am once again
asking for your financial support.
Popping in to let you know that I have titled this the most popular book of the year. And I'm not just saying that because technically, per Goodreads, this book is the most popular book of the year so far. And the current runner-up is Happy Place by Emily Henry. So I just want to let y'all know that I wasn't talking out my ass. This is actually backed up by Goodreads. That is an insane amount of reviews already. And this book has only been out since May of 2023. May of this fucking year, dude. And this is the most popular book of the year. Let that sink in and enjoy. I'm here for a quick update on Fourth Wing, but I just want to apologize. I feel like the minute they announced the new iPhone, my fucking phone quality has been like god awful. It is so grainy. I can see it literally right now, and I just feel like it's so fucking frustrating. Like the minute they announce a new phone, the rest of the phones go to shit. I literally just paid this off last month. I literally just paid this fucking phone off. Okay, this phone was like as expensive as a fucking laptop, and it's like the quality is just going down. That's just great. Anyway, I'm actually halfway into this book, and I am a little bit concerned because I only have 2 days left to read this before I have to return it to the library, and I don't really know if that's going to be possible since it's already taking me like 5 days to get 260 pages. So I'm not confident in my abilities to finish this. But so far this is kind of a slap. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's kind of a slap. I'm kind of really enjoying it. It really is one of those books that like I keep thinking about even when I put it down. And I do have the audiobook, but like I really want to read this physically. Getting to experience a book physically, I feel like is its truest form. It's like the way that it was like meant to be read. And I know that like ebooks obviously are very similar, but like it's not the same as like holding a book and turning the page, especially because this is a chunky boy and it's kind of heavy. It just kind of like gives me those feels back to when I was a kid. I used to just be reading a book for hours and didn't even notice. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing I love about physical books. It's like it just gives you also like that sense of completion because you get to like feel yourself go through the book versus like just swiping on my Amazon Kindle, which I do love and I use it every day. But like something about a physical book just hits different. So I'm avoiding using the audiobook, but I do want to get through this. Anyway, let me fill you in a little bit on what's going on in this book. And if you didn't already know from my title, this is going to include spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled for this book, please just click off, okay? I'm not going to put a spoilers thing up here because the whole fucking thing is a fucking spoiler, all right? Sorry to be indelicate, but this said spoilers included, okay? So that's what you're going to get. Anyways, let me fill you in a little bit what's going on with this book. So for anybody who has said this book was like divergent with dragons, I wholeheartedly applaud you for saying the truth because that's definitely kind of how it's feeling. But unfortunately, we're not getting a whole lot of her training in this, which is one of the only complaints I really have at this point. Is I feel like there's not a whole lot of training involved and there's not a whole lot of like opportunities for her to bond with the other cadets. I just feel like we're kind of being like told that their relationship is this way and they just have like dialogue, but I'm not really like feeling the friendships. And I also really can't keep most of her friends straight. I feel like it's easier to keep the enemies straight versus like the actual friends because like I don't really know what they look like because they were all introduced around the same time. I don't know who they are. I just know like they're male or female. Who are they fucking? That's what I know also, but that's about it. And it's definitely giving off Divergent vibes because like everything they do is like dangerous. Like it's literally like you could die at any time. If you didn't make it over the parapet in the very beginning, death. If you piss off a dragon, even if it's not your dragon, right? Like once you're actually bonded to a dragon, you can still die because you pissed off somebody else's dragon. You just breathed wrong. You said something that annoyed them because there's literally a whole point in this book where like they get paraded in front of the dragons called, I think it's called threshing. And it's where the dragons basically get to like decide who they want as their like bonded riders. And yeah, it's pretty brutal. I I mean, watching someone turn to ash in front of you, I'm sure it's pretty traumatizing, but honestly, it's so fucking badass. I'm kind of impressed. I can appreciate the ruthlessness in this, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. It really reminds me of Divergent, because also we have a very weak main character who has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I'm probably saying that wrong, but she has a chronic pain condition that affects like her joints and her connective tissues. So like she bruises easily, her joints dislocate a lot. It's very painful. Like she's weak muscles. So we have our weak main character who's trying to make it in this like very physical dominance kind of state, and they're literally the army, like they're the fighting forces, and so she's really trying to like buff herself up and pick herself off the floor or whatever they wipe her with it. But it also is frustrating because we're not really getting a whole lot of world building. I feel like Divergent had a lot of world building in it, and this so far does not. Like we have a little bit of province talk, but that's about it. Like we know that there's like writers and scribes, but I'm like, and healers. Are there any other quadrants? Like is there nothing else in your world? It's also a little unsettling that like people are talking like modern day in here, and your world doesn't seem to even have like modern medicine and stuff. So I'm like a little bit confused. Like you have magic, which is cool, but like, you know, you're obviously not like advanced enough to like understand certain things. And that's also one of the reasons I looked up her condition just to confirm that I was correct. And that is the condition because the author also has the same chronic condition as well as her 4 sons. So when I read the interview, she said that she didn't want to like name the syndrome specifically because their medical stuff was like not as advanced, so they wouldn't know. Then why are they talking like modern day teenagers / young adults? Confusing. For sure. I'm really confused as this fantasy world in general. I just feel like the world building is a little lackluster, which is a pet peeve of mine. But the plot is definitely moving forward, and I have to say, being chosen by a dragon is just fucking cool. So once she completes training, which we didn't really get to fucking see, and she's had her arm broken a couple times or whatever, she passes the gauntlet, which is where they have to like go through a cliff, and she somehow makes it up the cliff because she basically cheats, but it's not against the rules, and she like uses a rope and a dagger to get up. I think she's 5'2", and she has to like somehow make it up the gauntlet, which would be like what it's like mounting a dragon. So she basically cheated to accomplish that, and then she went through the threshing, which is where the dragons can choose you. And I will tell you, the best part of this book is whenever she is chosen by not 1 dragon but 2 dragons. And I literally almost shit a brick earlier. I threw down the book. I was so excited because what a cool fucking concept to get chosen by a dragon. But what happened was we have a golden like little dragon, this sweet little golden noodle who just is not very fierce. Everybody was like calling her a freak, and they're like making fun of this little golden dragon. And during like this threshing thing where they have to like go out to the woods and then like the dragons can choose them, kind of weird, but whatever, she realizes that 2 of the classmates are trying to like kill the dragon, so she defends the dragon. And then along comes a friend of the dragon, I can assume, which is her other bonded dragon. So she has 2 dragons, and one of them is a big scary honking motherfucker that apparently wasn't going to bond this year, but he did. And on top of that, she also bonded to the sweet little golden cupcake noodle dragon. I just love her so much. The dragon's so far the best part. I think that's honestly like the best part of this book. If the dragons were not there, I don't know if I'd want to read this. I have to say, the dragon's 100% the best part because they can talk like in like your mind. You always have like a telekinetic communication going on with the dragons, and it's just really fucking cool. But I am a little concerned because a lot of people said that in the middle of this book, it kind of falters and then picks up again at the end. Because the beginning, honestly, I literally could not put this book down. Like I wanted to read it like consistently. Like it's just really, really interesting and really fun to see. And also there's some love triangle shit going on because her old best friend Dane is like a 2nd or 3rd year in this. I think he's a 2nd year. And she's always had feelings for him. But like at the night of the threshing or whatever, when they have bonded with their dragons and they allow her to have both of her dragons, he kisses her and she's like, oh, I feel nothing for this dude. And really she's been gaining momentum and romantic feelings for Xaden, who is like their wing leader, and he's a giant fucking asshole who can control shadows, and he's very scary, sexy scary. And she realizes she's really liking this dude, and Xaden is coming out on top. Like I don't want to spoil too much for you, even though this is a spoilers review. That man can get it. He can get it. Dane can suck my ass. Anyway, I'm gonna continue on with this and let you guys know about how I'm feeling. But so far, this is slapping. I'm really enjoying this. I am just a little concerned I won't be able to continue this in like the appropriate time allowed. 2 days, over 200 pages. I don't know. It's already taking me such a long time to get to the middle part, but it's just a big book. I gotta give myself a break, but I am concerned if I hold this book too long in my library, will it cancel my holds or something, which is what I'm concerned about. So I don't know how it's gonna work out. I'm really truly understanding why people like this book so much. I get it. I get it now. If you want a book to get sucked into, I would recommend so far. But I might change my mind by the end. So I don't know. I'll fill you guys in when I'm a little bit farther into this and let y'all know the real tea. Hey y'all, so we thought it'd be a good idea to go to the state fair for once, and they literally took us there in tractors from the parking lot. And then we started off our trip with some delicious lemonade. Just for price reference, that lemonade was $9 freaking, dude. 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And just kind of walked around and saw what they had going on. They had a lot of like really fun stuff, but we were there for the food, okay? We were there for the food and we were there for the animals, honey. That is exactly why we went to the state fair. And was it worth it? I don't really freaking know. Honestly, I love seeing some good ass cows. I love seeing like the giant ass produce. Like that is literally the best part. Like seeing the cool stuff that people actually made and harvested is freaking rad. But I don't know if it was just the weekend we went or whatever, but it was so incredibly freaking crowded. It was so freaking busy. And I think the biggest problem is there's the same food in the same stalls, like 10 feet from one another, so you don't know which one to go to. You don't really know which one is the one for you. So that was definitely difficult, and the lines for some of them were absolutely insane. But my favorite part was probably the garden expo. It was so cool seeing all these flowers, seeing all the hard work, and I absolutely love the little miniature bouquets. Overall, will we go again? Probably, but we definitely need to go during the week, in our opinion. Before I go into my final rating and talk about the things that I loved and didn't love about this book, I think you guys should definitely check out Maddie's video below, A Little Bit Mads. She ended up publishing this, I think, some time ago, where she went into all the things about Fourth Wing that are not good. And I 100% agree with her, regardless of my rating. Every single point that she brought up is 100% how I feel about that point. So if you also want to know like a better, more explained version of how I feel about this book and its flaws, please go check out her review. I'll leave it down below. And something that she also does at the end of the video is talk about the things that she would change to make this book better. Again, still agree. So I think that's something that would be really helpful for you guys to understand, because I think in the moment, it's very hard for me sometimes to explain myself and how I'm feeling. But when I see somebody else explain it, I'm like, that's exactly how I feel about it. So please go watch her video down below, because honestly, I went into this a little bit quickly because I had to return the book. It was overdue. So I kind of like went to my review, like not having as much time to like think about it. So keep that in mind. I finally finished Fourth Wing, and for the biggest book of the year, I have to say that it might be warranted. This book just gave me all the feels. I really enjoyed this, and I really enjoyed the world. Even though the world building was a little bit lacking, I kind of make up the rest of it in my imagination, and it was just a really enjoyable time. It is a 500-page book, so do keep that in mind. I feel like the hype for this is warranted. Now, I didn't realize this book was actually published this year in 2023. I thought this was published last year, and that's kind of why it was making its rounds. This was published in May, and the sequel, Iron Flame, that I'm already on the list for, comes out November 7th. So it's quite shocking that a sequel comes out only 6 months after the predecessor. I don't know if I've ever seen it happen in literature, especially like books as large as these. Maybe I'm not out of the loop. I haven't updated you since the 50% mark, so I'm gonna let you know that after the 50% mark, it definitely is less stressful, which I think in a lot of ways is good, but it definitely could dip for a lot of people. I don't think it was slower per se, but like we didn't get as much time with the dragons as I was anticipating until the very end when there's obviously like a fight sequence. I was really hoping we get a lot more bonding in this book, and that's kind of my biggest criticism, is I feel like we're expected to believe that there's these bonds between her fellow riders, her fellow dragons. Like I'm just not really seeing a lot of the bonding and stuff taking place, and we're missing a lot of her actual training. It's kind of upsetting because I really want to see her training get better, but we only kind of get to see like her shining moments. It doesn't make you like warm to her as much as a character. Even though she's obviously suffering for a chronic illness as well, I just kind of wish it was talked about in a better way versus like her always talking about her physical impediments. Like how is it affecting you mentally? I feel that chronic illness really takes a toll on your mental health more than anything, and that wasn't really shown in the way that I was hoping. It was just shown in like how she struggled with her physical ailments and how she couldn't do certain things that other people can. Like she can't keep herself in the saddle. Like she can't keep herself on her dragon, which is I think an issue for most riders anyway. Like it's not like they have all like safety harnesses up there flying thousands of feet in the air. I feel like that, by the way, is just kind of a weird thing. Like I have a couple of like little gripes with this book. Like why do they not have like saddles for everybody for each dragon so they don't fall off? Not everybody's Daenerys Targaryen, okay? Like not everybody can stay on a dragon like that. It's crazy. But we do get a lot of fun romance in the last half, and I think that's definitely like where it was going, and I really enjoyed that. We find out what her power is, which is lightning, and we also find out that her small little yellow dragon has the ability to stop time, which is a really cool thing, and it's definitely utilized a couple of times in this book. Obviously we have some sexy sexy time between Xaden and Violet. And may I just say again that I really don't understand why that's her name, because nobody like shortens it. I just feel like Violet is just not really an easy name to say for like a main character, like over and over and over. Like there's no shortening to like Vi, like nobody does that. And I just feel like every time I read it, my brain just goes Violet, and so it just takes longer. I don't know. That's just probably me. But Xaden's nickname for her is Violence, which I do enjoy. And I really enjoyed the romance, like I really did. And there's definitely a love triangle between her, Dane, and Xaden. So I like that aspect. I think that's also why I enjoy this. I love a good fucking love triangle. But the ending left some to be desired. It tied up a few things, but it also like left us with some questions. So if you don't want to know the big spoiler of the book, I would click off now, but the whole thing is basically spoilers. But her brother Brennan is actually alive. We think that he's dead the entire book. He apparently is alive, which just causes a lot of other questions to rise, because her dragon Tarn, his past rider Naolin, is the one that tried to revive her brother and ended up dying in the process because it was like too much power to bring someone back from the dead. But if Brennan's alive, what happened in that situation? Like what really happened? Because Tarn acted like he didn't know that wyverns were a thing, and that's obviously another thing at the end, like the venom and the wyverns were like a real thing from like her dad's book of folklore, which is also why he kept writing her like little like notes about retaining history and like not repeating patterns and how entire generations can like wipe out history. I mean, it's very poignant obviously to what they're dealing with, because at the end we find out that the province like knows that these things exist, like wyverns and these venons are real. So wyverns are basically like dragons that can be controlled by venons, and venons are like ultra powerful, like fucked up magicians that have like let power control them. So they're basically like writers, but like really corrupt, and like they're out to try to like get rid of the wards or something. We know that the province knows that they exist and they can only die in certain ways, and that's really what Xaden and his like rebellion people have been doing. Like Xaden's father was killed because of the rebellion, but the rebellion wasn't against the province. It's because they're trying to protect everybody from like the wyverns and the venom, and the province basically acts like they don't exist, is to my understanding. So there's a lot to unpack here. I'm really excited to get into the second book when it comes out, just because I really want some answers to these questions. And there are obviously a lot of deaths that occur in this that I also would like to see her kind of mourn a little bit. Like there was a big death at the end. I won't spoil that for you. You can enjoy that yourself. But it was a little devastating for sure. And there's also a lot of other devastating moments to get through. Like there is one earlier on where a dragon's rider is killed, and like just reading about the dragon wailing literally broke my heart. Like I will die for these dragons. So I cannot wait to continue on with this series. And this is a fucking slap. Like it's gonna get 5 stars. I maybe I'm a basic bitch, okay? But like this is just giving like YA fantasy vibes, even though it is new adult. I checked, she is 20 years old in this. And I believe that Xaden is 23. So they're new adult. Their frontal lobes are still not developed, which, you know, bad decisions. But I can appreciate that they're not like children. Still don't understand why she let her mother force her into the Rider's Quadrant whenever she has this chronic illness. I think that's a little bit weird. I think it would have been more believable if she herself was like, I'm gonna prove it to them. Like, fuck them. Like my dad who's a scribe died. Let me like go after my mother's profession. I don't know if that still sits weird with me, but I have my own things to take with this book. Like I just finished it this morning. Like I might need more time with this to figure out how I feel, but I mean, overall it's getting a 5 star right now. It's getting a 4.5. I really, really enjoyed this book. I'm so excited for the second novel, which is coming out very shortly here, but I am like number 300 on the list. So I don't know if I'm gonna get it this year, but this is definitely on my favorites list of the year. Like I have to say, it's gonna go on the favorites list. It's probably my favorite books of the year just because it was so readable. It was so much fun. It was such an entertaining, thrilling ride for me. And it just made me like feel like young and dangerous and dumb. And I definitely will still take the comparison of like Divergent with dragons, because it definitely feels that way. And could I survive as a writer? Absolutely not. Not with those heights, honey. Not with me like not having a strap on a dragon and like you can free fall and like fight on a dragon. That's a hard no, babe.
Oh, it's a hard no, babe.
But I like the idea of this, and this was just way too much fun. So if you're debating whether or not to read this book, I would just go into it. Just give it a good chance. You know what I mean? You may not love dragons. You may not love war colleges. Just give it a chance. I just feel like the way this was written was very visceral for me, and I'm a very visual reader, so I need to like feel like I'm in the story and I can see what's happening, and this worked for me. Does it have some flaws? Absolutely, but overall, it's a slap. So anyway, I have to go return this to the library pronto, but I hope you did enjoy this reading vlog, and please let me know if there's anything else you guys want me to read because I'm always open to other books. I'm trying to widen my horizons, and I'm also trying to get back to my roots because this is definitely something I would have enjoyed as a teenager, and I need to like find those things that I used to really love, but I just don't read a whole lot of anymore. So if you have any suggestions, let me know. Now, if you finish this vlog, number one, thank you. Number two, yes, I'm gonna read Iron Flame. I'm literally on the waiting list right fucking now, and as many other booktubers have said, is this really the most well-written book? No.
Who had been saying that? Who said that? Who said that? Who said that?
But for some reason, I wholeheartedly love this book, and I would really like to see where the series is going to go. Now, it's going to be a 5-book series, so we'll see how that's going to play out. But for right now, this fucking story has me hooked, and I cannot wait to get my hands on Iron Flame. So look out for that vlog in the future, because as soon as I get my hands on that bad boy, it is over. All right, peace. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys all very soon. Bye.